Hey, James here. I want to talk about how to get the right answers from your large language model. Specifically, I'm going to be addressing Chat GPT, both 3.5 and 4. But first off, if you're liking this content, please like, comment, and share. It means a lot to me. And if there's anything that you'd like me to cover, if you have any questions, please let me know because I'm definitely happy to do that. But moving forward, how do you get the answers out? Well, there's a handful of ways that you can manipulate a large language model to get the answers out the way that you want them out, whether that's perhaps in a bulleted list, or maybe you want it in a specific language, or maybe you want it to not answer if it doesn't have the data that you provided, if it can't find it in the context that you provided. But one of the biggest ways that you can choose specifically how the AI responds is by selecting the model first that's going to best fit your needs. A lot of what we do is we work with clients' data, so that way they can ask a question about their own data, or tons, a large amount of data, and ask a specific question about it and get a specific answer out. Chat GPT 4 is excellent at things like coding. It's super creative, but that's not really what we're looking for. We don't use 4. It just tends to get a little bit too creative. You may have heard the term hallucinate. Chat GPT 4 will hallucinate. So we try to avoid 4. DaVinci was actually really good, and we're having great results with 3.5, specifically Turbo. And if you're keeping up, about 2 days ago, OpenAI launched Turbo 0613. So we're going to be testing that out, so you can look forward to seeing some results from that. But in general, picking the right model in the first place is going to give you the control you need for the answers that you want. Again, if you're looking for a really creative, like essay summary, ChatGPT 4 is probably just going to be what you need. You probably just ask it to give you a creative summary, and you're going to get the result that you want. But if you're being very specific about how you need to get the data out, you're going to need to think about that model first off. Secondly, there's what's called prompting. So if you've heard about prompt engineering, right now there's jobs out there that are paying like $300,000 a year. So if this is something you're interested in, it is very lucrative. What we've found from a prompt engineering standpoint, my experience is I'll do a lot of post-prompting and pre-prompting. Most everybody talks about pre-prompting. There's system prompts that you can put in. And if you check out OpenAI's documentation, or really any other large language models documentation, they'll talk about that. You can put in like a system prompt to say, hey, you're a helpful assistant. And in some cases, you can try to manipulate that, because this does take some testing, and say, okay, you're a helpful assistant that speaks Portuguese or Spanish or English or whatever, in an attempt to get the result out the way that you want the result. So that's one way that you can do it, is by putting it in the system. Now, what I gather from what OpenAI just said recently is that the system prompt is going to have a little bit more control over the response than it did in the past. So previously, you could put in like, hey, you're an assistant, but if you tell it to speak Spanish, it's not going to. I don't know yet. We haven't finished our testing internally, but we're hoping that we'll have some control that will allow us to, further kind of put the response into the funnel or the framework that we want. But then after that, when you ask a question, I'll oftentimes say like, okay, I need this response. If it's multiple steps, please answer it in a bulleted list or an ordered list, and it will. And I'll say, please answer in Spanish, and it will. But I found that if you ask it to do like 2 or 3 things, like if you can't find the answer in the context, don't answer, and answer in a bulleted list, and answer in Spanish, and and be a helpful assistant, and you try to like cram that all in one and then ask a question, it just doesn't get it all right all the time. It ends up being super weird, right? And usually like it won't answer in Spanish, or you don't get the list. So you really need kind of like 2 or 3 prompts that you can work in natural language. I found to be helpful. But I found that if you put something at the very end, so after you provide the context, at the very end, say, and please answer in Spanish, that you can get it to answer in Spanish. You can kind of squeeze in one last little prompt by doing a post prompt. So those are the ways that we're utilizing it right now to get the answers out for our clients that we need. But I would say the biggest thing is choosing the right model. So if you guys have, like I said, please like, comment, or share. If you have any questions, let me know, because I'm happy to answer them.